The night sky over Earth looked calm, filled with stars that seemed far away and peaceful. Most humans slept in their homes, unaware that something was moving above them, something that did not belong to Earth. A huge vessel drifted silently, in orbit, its shape smooth and curved like a silver crescent. It belonged to the Threlak, a species known in the galaxy for their hunger for knowledge and their strange ways of learning. The Threlak were not conquerors. They did not come to destroy cities or burn lands. Their minds were curious, always, searching for answers. But curiosity, if left without balance, could become dangerous. This time, their target was not human soldiers, leaders, or even scientists. Instead, they chose the young, the children of Earth. Inside the alien vessel, tall figures moved through shining corridors. Their bodies were slender, with long arms and narrow faces. Their eyes glowed faintly blue, reflecting the dim lights of their ship. They spoke in soft humming tones, words that carried through the air like ripples on water. Rila, a young scientist among them, walked beside her superior. She was different from the others. While most Threlak thought in numbers, logic, and results, Rila often found herself asking questions that her people dismissed. What does it feel like? Why would they act this way? What does this mean to them? Commander Thal, Rila said carefully as they reached the observation deck. Are you certain about this plan? Seizing children may not give us the answers we seek. The commander's tall form stood still, his gaze locked on the planet below. Children are the future of every species, he answered coldly. If we wish to understand humanity, we must study its beginnings. Adults are shaped by culture, by rules, by experiences. Children are pure. They show us what humans truly are before the world changes them. Rila lowered her head but felt uneasy. She knew the logic sounded strong, yet something inside her heart whispered that it was wrong. Meanwhile, on Earth, the first moves of the plan unfolded. In a quiet neighborhood of New York, a small boy named Daniel was reading under his blanket, with a flashlight. He should have been asleep, but adventure books always kept him awake. He was in the middle of a chapter when he suddenly felt a strange vibration, like the ground itself was humming. The flashlight flickered. The window beside his bed filled with light, soft silver light that was not the moon's glow. Before Daniel could call for his parents, everything went dark. Miles away, in a small village in Pakistan, a girl named Aisha was feeding a stray kitten near her house. The streets were empty, and the sound of crickets filled the night. She was whispering gently to the kitten when the air shimmered around her. A circle of light appeared on the ground. She gasped, but before she could run, the light pulled her upward. The kitten meowed loudly, its cry fading as Aisha vanished into the night sky. Similar scenes took place in many parts of the world. A boy in Brazil vanished from a football field. A girl in Kenya disappeared from her schoolyard. A group of children camping in Canada looked up to see stars swirl unnaturally, only to vanish moments later. To the humans who witnessed these events, it was terrifying. To the Threlak, it was only collection. In the alien vessel, the children woke one by one. They found themselves inside clear, round chambers, each glowing with pale light. The air smelled strange, and the ground under their feet was smooth like glass. Fear spread quickly. Some cried, some shouted, and others banged their fists on the transparent walls. Daniel pressed his hands against the surface of his chamber. "Where am I?" he yelled. His voice echoed back at him. Across the room, he saw Aisha in another chamber, her eyes wide with confusion. The aliens entered the chamber hall. Their tall forms and glowing eyes silenced the children. The commander stepped forward. "Do not fear," he said, though his voice carried no warmth. "You are safe. We will study you. You will not be harmed." But the words only made the children more afraid. Rila stood behind the commander, watching. Her gaze fell on the children's faces. Their fear was raw, but there was something else too. Something her people never showed at such a young age. The children held each other's eyes across the chambers. They tried to comfort each other, even though they were strangers. One boy tapped on his glass wall in a rhythm, and another child copied it, turning fear into a game for a moment. Rila felt a strange pull inside her chest. She whispered to herself, "They are already working together, even in fear." The commander noticed her hesitation. "You are troubled, Rila," he said sharply. She nodded slowly. "Commander, with respect, are we certain this is the right path? Children are not objects. They belong with their families. To tear them away will only show us resistance, not truth." Thal's glowing eyes hardened. "Resistance is part of truth. If they resist, we will learn why. If they cry, we will see the depth of their bonds. Every reaction is data." Rila wanted to argue more, but she stayed silent. Among the Trilak, defying the commander could mean exile. Still, her heart was restless. Hours passed, and the children were moved into a larger chamber together. The aliens wanted to see how they would act as a group. At first, the children were silent, sitting close to each other. Then Daniel, his curiosity stronger than his fear, spoke. "Does anyone know what's happening?" No one did, but Aisha raised her hand slowly. Maybe we're on a spaceship." The other children turned to her with wide eyes. The word spaceship was both exciting and terrifying. "But why us?" a boy from Brazil asked. "We didn't do anything." A girl from Kenya shook her head. "Because we're kids. They want us because we're kids." Silence filled the room again, but this time, it was heavier. The children realized together that they had been chosen not by mistake, but for a reason they could not understand. Back in the observation room, Rila watched the group through a transparent screen. She saw how quickly the children bonded. They were from different countries, spoke different languages, but still found ways to communicate through gestures, smiles, and simple words. To her people, unity came from long training, from rules and structure. To these children, unity seemed natural, like breathing. Rila whispered again, though no one listened. "Perhaps we are the ones to be studied, not them." The commander, standing beside her, folded his arms. "Observe closely, Rila. Humanity grows fast, too fast. If we do not understand them now, we may face them as rivals tomorrow." His words carried weight, but to Rila they sounded more like fear than reason. Down in the chamber, Daniel placed his hand on the glass wall again, looking toward the faint stars outside. He whispered to the others, "We have to get home. Somehow, we have to." The children nodded. They did not know how, but the spark of determination was already lit. And far above Earth, on that silent alien vessel, the first chapter of a great struggle had begun. One between cold curiosity and warm humanity, between logic without heart and courage born in the hearts of children. Rila could not yet name it, but deep inside she felt it. The Trilak had made a mistake. The chamber where the children were kept glowed with soft white light. The walls were curved, smooth, and without any doors they could see. The air was warmer than Earth's night, carrying a faint metallic taste. The children sat in a circle, on the polished floor, their voices low but restless. Daniel rubbed his eyes, trying to fight away the sleep that kept pulling at him. "They can't keep us here forever," he whispered. "Someone will find us." Aisha, sitting beside him, shook her head. "We're not even on Earth anymore. Who will know where to look?" The words made the circle quiet. For a moment, the fear grew heavier. Some of the younger children began to cry softly, their shoulders shaking. But then the oldest girl among them, 12-year-old Elena from Spain, stood up. She had sharp eyes and dark hair tied back in a braid. She looked around the group, and though she was just a child, something in her posture carried strength. "We can't sit here and wait," Elena said firmly. "If we do nothing, they will control everything. We need to think. We need to work. Together." The others looked up at her. Some of them nodded, others stayed silent. But even the silent ones leaned closer, drawn by her voice. In the observation deck above, Rila and Commander Thal watched closely. "They organize quickly," Thal said, his voice calm but edged with something colder. "Even at this age, they form leaders." Rila's glowing eyes studied the girl who had just stood. Elena's confidence stirred something in her. She had read reports of human leadership, of their strange balance between emotion and strategy. But seeing it in a child was different. "They are not like us," Rila murmured. "Their bonds form faster. They do not wait for rules." "Which is exactly why they are dangerous," Thal replied. Back inside the chamber, Elena began to guide the group. "We don't know their language, but maybe they can understand us. Let's try to talk to them. If they won't listen, then we look for another way out." Daniel raised his hand nervously. "But what if they get angry?" "Then we'll see what they do," Elena said. "At least we'll know." The children agreed. They decided that when the aliens came again, they would all speak at once, demanding to go home. Hours later, the chamber walls opened with a sudden hiss. The children gasped as two Thrylac scientists entered. Their tall, glowing figures looked even more intimidating up close. One of them carried a thin device with glowing symbols. Before fear could silence them, Elena stood tall. She pointed toward the stars outside and shouted, "Home! We want home!" The other children followed her lead. "Home! Home! Let us go home!" Their voices rose together, echoing off the walls until the sound filled the chamber. The Thrylac scientists stopped, their glowing eyes flickering in surprise. They had expected crying, begging, or silence, but not unity, not this sudden roar of resistance. In the observation deck, Rila leaned forward. "Do you see, Commander? They speak as one. Their voices combine." But Thal's face was stern. "They resist, that is all. Resistance must be contained." He pressed a command. A pulse of soft blue light filled the chamber, and the children froze in place, their muscles locked by an energy field. Their voices were cut short. The scientists quickly scanned them with their devices. But even though the children could not move, their eyes still burned with anger and determination. Elena's gaze was fixed on the aliens, unbroken, unafraid. When the scientists left and the field deactivated, the children dropped to the floor, breathing heavily. Some cried again, shaken by the sudden helplessness, but Elena stood once more, though her legs trembled. "They wanted us quiet," she said. "That means they were afraid of our voices." The children looked at her, surprised. "Afraid?" Daniel asked. "Yes," Elena said. "If they were stronger than us in every way, they would not silence us. But they did. That means together, we matter." Her words lit a spark. The children began to whisper ideas, ways to trick the aliens, ways to send messages, ways to fight back in small steps. Their fear had not vanished, but it had turned into something new. Determination. Over the next days, the children worked, secretly. They learned the rhythm of the aliens' visits. They noticed when the walls shifted, when the air vents opened, when the lights dimmed. They began to create signals. A tap on the floor, a whistle, or a simple hand gesture. Language was no longer a barrier. They invented their own. Daniel discovered that if he pressed against the corner of the chamber wall and hummed, the surface vibrated faintly, carrying the sound farther than a normal voice. Aisha figured out that the vents could carry small objects, if they were light enough. Elena pushed them to keep trying, to keep testing. It was not much, but it was enough to give them hope. In the observation deck, Rila continued to watch, fascinated. She recorded how quickly the children adapted, how they turned fear into games, how they supported the weakest among them. At one point, she saw a boy crying quietly in the corner. Instead of ignoring him, the others gathered around, telling him stories of their homes, stories of football games, of kittens, of family dinners, of sunrises over fields. The boy's tears dried as he listened, and soon he was smiling weakly. Rila whispered to herself, "Even in despair, they create comfort. How do they do this?" Thal, standing nearby, dismissed it. "It is noise, it means nothing. Their stories will not open the walls." But deep down, even he felt a flicker of unease. On the fourth night, the children made their first real attempt. Elena gave the signal, and Daniel began humming against the wall. The vibration spread. Aisha pushed a folded scrap of fabric through the vent, carried by the airflow. Another boy tapped a pattern on the floor. To anyone else, it was meaningless. But to the children, it was their message. We are not weak. We are together. The aliens monitoring the chamber tilted their heads, confused by the strange noises and movements. Rila, however, smiled faintly. She understood. It was not about escaping yet. It was about refusing to break. Later, Rila visited the commander in his quarters. Commander Thal, she began, I must speak plainly. We are not only observing, we are provoking. These are children. They should not be here. Thal turned his glowing eyes toward her. You grow soft, Rayla. Knowledge is never gentle. If they resist, we will learn their limits. If they despair, we will learn their breaking point. But what if their limit is higher than we expect? Rila asked quietly. What if we push them and find not weakness but strength? Thal's silence was long. Then he said, Then we will know what kind of threat they will become. Back in the chamber, the children were whispering plans again. Elena looked around. At the group. They think we are small. They think we are weak, she said. But if we keep working together, we can outsmart them. Daniel clenched his fists. We'll show them. They'll see what kids can do. The children nodded, their eyes shining with quiet fire, and above them, Rila watched with a mixture of fear and admiration. She knew her people had made a mistake. They had not captured helpless beings. They had captured the seeds of something far greater. Even in their smallest form, humanity resisted. Even in their youngest, they carried a will that could not be caged. And though the aliens still thought themselves the observers, the truth was already clear. It was the Threlak who were being studied now, studied by the courage of innocent hearts. The resistance had begun. The alien ship floated silently above Earth, hidden behind its own cloaking field. On the surface of the blue planet, humans went about their daily lives, unaware that their children were being watched, tested, and studied far above. Inside the bow vessel, however, tension was building. The children had changed since the first days of fear. At the beginning, they had cried, begged, and asked endless questions. But now, under Elena's guidance, they had grown braver, more focused. Instead of waiting, they acted. Instead of despairing, they planned. The Threlak scientists noticed it too. Each day they brought their glowing devices into the chamber, and each day the children found small ways to confuse them. One child would distract an alien with loud questions while another quietly slipped a small object into the vent. Another time, they purposely walked in circles, chanting, making the readings unstable. To the aliens, it was unexpected chaos. Ryla stood behind the monitoring screen, her arms folded. She felt both pride and guilt. Pride because the children showed strength, and guilt because they should never have been here in the first place. That evening, Commander Thal called a council meeting. The room was wide, with a glass wall showing the stars outside. Several senior Threlak officers stood around the glowing table. Rila entered quietly, her mind restless. The humans resist, Thal announced. His voice echoed through the chamber. Even at this young stage, they disobey. They try to disrupt our work. If children behave so, what will their adults become? This confirms our fears. Another officer spoke. Their energy is remarkable, Commander. They do not surrender easily. Perhaps this explains why their species has risen so quickly in such a short time. Rila gathered her courage. Commander, forgive me, but we are treating resistance as a threat. What if it is not only resistance? What if it is strength that could be used for good? Several officers turned their glowing eyes toward her. Silence followed. Thal's gaze hardened. Strength without control is danger, Thal said coldly. Humans are unpredictable. That makes them unstable. Rila lowered her eyes, but her voice did not soften. Unpredictable, yes, but unpredictability is also creativity. It is hope. Do you not see? These children have been taken from their homes, yet they laugh together. They share stories, they plan. No other species would do this. The room buzzed with quiet whispers. Some of the officers agreed with her words, though none spoke aloud. Thal's authority was strong, and no one dared openly oppose him. Enough, Thal said. We will continue. If they resist further, we will increase containment. Ryla felt her chest tighten. She knew Thal's words meant harsher measures, and she also knew the children would never stop resisting. In the chamber, the children were whispering again. Elena crouched close to the group. They keep watching us, she said. Every move, every word. But they don't understand everything. We can use that. A boy named Marcus raised his hand. What if we break their machines? Elena shook her head. Not yet. If we do, they'll know it was on purpose. We need to trick them first. Confuse them so they don't see what we're planning. Daniel grinned. Like hide and seek, but bigger. Yes, Elena said. Exactly. The children began practicing signals again. A tap on the floor meant silence. A cough meant distraction. A whistle meant it was time to act. It was simple, but effective. Later, when the aliens entered with Adombo, their glowing tools, the children acted. Daniel pretended to stumble, knocking into the alien's leg. While the alien scientist bent to steady him, Aisha quickly slipped one of the small glowing rods from the cart and hid it under her shirt. The aliens scanned the chamber, unaware. The children looked innocent, their faces calm. But inside, their hearts raced. Hours later, when the chamber lights dimmed to simulate night, the children gathered in a tight circle. Aisha pulled out the glowing rod and placed it in the center. What does it do? Marcus asked, his eyes wide. I don't know, Aisha admitted. But it's theirs. That means it's important. Elena leaned closer. The device pulsed, with a faint hum. She didn't know how to use it, but the fact that they had taken something without being caught gave them new energy. This is proof, Elena said. We can beat them. The children smiled, hope shining in their eyes. Rila, watching from above, noticed the change in the children's expressions. She knew something had happened, though she could not see what. The cameras did not catch everything. Her heart beat faster. She felt torn between duty and conscience. She should report her suspicion to Thal, but she hesitated. If she told him, he would tighten control, maybe even separate the children. But if she stayed silent, the children might find a way to fight back. She whispered to herself, perhaps that is what they need. A chance. The next day, Thal ordered a direct test. Bring them to the trial chamber, he commanded. The trial chamber was different from the living quarters. Its walls shifted, like liquid metal, forming obstacles, puzzles, and traps. The Three-Lock used it to measure problem-solving abilities. The children entered nervously, looking around at the strange walls and glowing platforms. Elena quickly gathered them. Don't forget, she whispered. Work together, always together. A voice echoed in the chamber, Thal's voice, calm but cold. Solve the path. Show us your logic. The floor lit up, revealing a maze of shifting tiles. The children gasped. Some tiles glowed green, others red. When Daniel stepped on a red tile, it vanished beneath his foot, and he almost fell before Marcus pulled him back. It's a game, Elena said quickly. Green is safe, red is not. They began to move carefully. The maze was tricky, but the children shouted advice, pointing and guiding each other. Even when mistakes were made, they laughed, caught each other, and tried again. Above, the Three-Lock scientists watched in silence. Rila smiled faintly. The children were not only solving the puzzle, they were enjoying it. Their laughter echoed through the chamber. One officer whispered, "They treat danger as play." Remarkable. Thal's eyes narrowed. They refused to fear. That is dangerous, but no matter how the maze shifted, the children adapted. Elena directed. Daniel tested paths. Aisha calmed the younger ones. Marcus pulled anyone who slipped. By the end, they reached the exit platform, cheering and hugging each other. Rila turned to Thal. Do you see? They did not give up. They grew stronger. Thal's voice was sharp. They mock us with their games. Their strength is a warning. Later, Ryla walked alone through the silver corridors, her mind full. She thought of Elena's determined eyes, Daniel's courage, Aisha's kindness. She thought of how they supported one another without hesitation. Her people had taken the children to learn about humanity's weakness, but all she saw was humanity's strength. She stopped by a window, looking down at Earth. Its oceans shimmered like blue jewels. Millions of humans lived there unaware. If their children are like this, she whispered, what must their adults be? In the trial chamber, the children rested after their victory. They were tired but proud. They thought we would fail, Elena said, smiling. But we didn't. We never will. The others nodded, their hearts strong. They were no longer only captives. They were a team. And somewhere deep inside the alien ship, cracks had begun to form, not only in the walls of containment, but in the beliefs of the Threlak themselves. The clash of perspectives had started. The ship drifted silently through space, a giant shadow above Earth. Inside, the children were stronger than when they first arrived. Fear had not left them, but courage had taken root. They had faced tests, they had stolen objects, and they had outsmarted their watchers. Every day their bond grew tighter, but so did the tension among the aliens. Commander Thal grew more suspicious. His voice in the council meetings had turned sharper, colder. They are dangerous, he said again and again. Every action they take proves it. Rila, however, saw something different. To her eyes, the children were not dangerous. They were extraordinary. Their unity, their imagination, their laughter in the face of fear. It was something the Threlak had never known. Each time she watched them, her doubts grew stronger. That night, the chamber lights dimmed. The children huddled together, whispering in their usual circle. Elena looked around the group, her eyes steady. We can't just wait anymore, she said softly. They keep testing us. They keep watching. But we're not animals. We have to make them listen. Daniel frowned. But how? They don't understand us. They understand enough, Elena replied. We've shouted, we've resisted, we've tricked them, but maybe now we need to talk. Face to face. The children grew quiet. The idea of speaking directly to the aliens was frightening. Yet when they looked at Elena, they felt braver. Aisha nodded. Yes, if we don't speak, they'll keep thinking we're just pieces in their game. We have to show them we are more. The others agreed. That night they planned. If the chance came, they would not cry, they would not shout. They would demand answers. The chance came sooner than they expected. The next day, Rila entered the chamber alone. She often came to observe, standing silently as her glowing eyes scanned their movements. This time, however, the children moved quickly. Elena stepped forward, placing herself between Rila and the others. Wait, Elena said firmly. Her voice trembled, but she did not back down. Rila stopped. Her eyes narrowed slightly, surprised by the tone. We need to talk, Elena continued. Not in your tests, not in your games. Now. The other children stood beside her, forming a line. Their small bodies shook, but their faces were determined. Rila tilted her head. Talk? She repeated softly. Yes, Elena said. Why are we here? Why us? We want to go home. The words echoed in the chamber. Rila's heart tightened. She had expected anger, maybe resistance, but not this clear demand for truth. For a long moment she stayed silent. Then she spoke quietly. You were taken because you are the beginnings of your kind. The young are the purest reflection of a species' future. My people want to understand what humanity will become. Daniel stepped forward, his fists clenched. So you stole us? That's not how you learn. That's wrong. A murmur of agreement rose from the children. They all shouted at once. Wrong, wrong, take us home. Their voices filled the chamber like thunder. Rila flinched. She had no defense. She knew they were right. One of the younger children, a small boy named Kofi, looked up at Rila with wide eyes. His voice was soft, but it carried more weight than a shout. "Would you want someone to take your kids, no?" he asked. The question struck Rila like a blade. Her glowing eyes widened. The room fell silent. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever asked her to feel instead of think. She imagined it, her own family, her own children torn away by strangers, locked in glowing cages. She imagined their small voices begging to go home. The thought filled her with a pain she had never known. Rayla stepped back, shaken. "No," she whispered. Her voice trembled. "I would not." The children stared at her. For the first time, they saw not just an alien, but someone who could feel. From the observation deck, Commander Thal had been watching. His hand slammed against the console. "Rila has compromised herself," he roared. He stormed into the council room. "She sympathizes with them. She dares to question our mission." Several officers shifted uneasily. They had seen Ryla's hesitation too. Some agreed with Thal, but others whispered quietly among themselves. One officer dared to speak. "Perhaps she is not wrong, Commander. We took them without consent. It is troubling." Thal's eyes flashed with anger. "Troubling? It is necessary. We are Threlak. We do what must be done for knowledge. Emotions cloud judgment. She is weak," but in his voice there was not only anger, there was fear. Meanwhile, in the chamber, Rila remained silent, her thoughts racing. The children waited. Elena stepped closer. "You know it's wrong," Elena said softly. "You said it yourself. You wouldn't want it done to you. Then help us, please." The other children's voices rose. "Help us. Take us home." Rila's heart pounded. She looked at them, their small faces, their bright eyes, their courage. Something inside her broke free, something her people had long buried. She whispered almost to herself, "You are not weak. You are strong, stronger than we knew." The children exchanged quick glances. For the first time, they felt hope. Later, that night, Rila stood alone in her private quarters. She stared at her reflection in the silver glass. Her long face looked the same, but inside everything had changed. Her people lived by logic. They measured, calculated, dissected. But these children had shown her something beyond logic, something alive. She thought again of Kofi's question, "Would you want someone to take your kids?" The answer burned in her heart. No, she would not. Her decision was forming, heavy and dangerous. If she helped them, she would betray her people. She could lose her place, her honor, maybe even her life. But if she did nothing, she would betray something greater, her own soul. The next day, Thal called Rila into his chamber. "You spoke with the humans," he said sharply. "Yes," Rila admitted. "You showed weakness." Rila lifted her chin. "I showed truth." Thal's glowing eyes narrowed. "You will remain silent from now on. Do you understand?" Rila did not answer. She bowed slightly, but inside her choice was already made. That night, when the chamber lights dimmed, the walls shifted silently. A hidden door opened and Rila stepped inside. The children gasped. "Quiet," she whispered. "I cannot stay long." Elena stepped forward, her eyes shining. "You came." Rila nodded. She looked at them, her heart heavy, but determined. "I cannot undo what has been done, but I can help you. I will find a way to get you home." The children's eyes widened. A spark of joy filled the room. "But you must trust me," Rayla continued, "and you must be patient. If Thal discovers this, we will all suffer." Elena placed her hand on Rila's long, cold fingers. "We trust you." For the first time, Rila felt warmth in another's touch. For the first time, she felt like more than a scientist. She felt human. As Rila slipped back into the shadows, her mind raced with plans. She would have to disable the surveillance, mislead the commander, and guide the children safely to an escape pod. It was risky, perhaps impossible. But as she remembered their small voices, their stubborn courage, and Kofi's question, she knew she could not turn back. The turning point had come. The children were no longer just captives, and Rila was no longer just a scientist. Together they had become something else, something powerful enough to shake the fate of two species. The giant alien ship drifted silently above Earth, hidden from human eyes. Inside, the children waited in the dim chamber, their hearts beating fast. Rila had promised them hope. For the first time since they were taken, they felt like freedom was not just a dream, but hope was dangerous. Commander Thal had grown more suspicious each day. His glowing eyes searched every report, every small change. He knew something was shifting. He could feel it in the way the children carried themselves and in the way Rila avoided his gaze. The children whispered together when the lights dimmed. "Do you think she will really help us?" Daniel asked nervously. "Yes," Elena answered, firmly. She had no doubt. Ryla's eyes had shown truth. "She will not leave us." Kofi, the smallest, hugged his knees. "Then we must be ready. If she comes, we must follow fast." They all nodded. They were tired of waiting. Meanwhile, Rila moved through the ship like a shadow. Every step was dangerous. She disabled small parts of the surveillance system, hiding the gaps with clever false signals. She copied codes, unlocked doors, and prepared one of the escape pods in secret. It was not easy. Each time she passed another officer, her heart tightened. If anyone suspected her, it would be over. But she remembered the children's faces, their small hands pressed against the glass, and she pressed forward. Her plan was almost ready, but Commander Thal was not blind. One evening, he entered the observation deck, his cloak flowing behind him. His hands moved quickly over the glowing console. He replayed the children's chamber footage. He watched how they no longer seemed broken, how their eyes shone with hidden courage. Something was wrong. Then he noticed it. Tiny gaps in the recordings, places where the feed had flickered for a second. He leaned closer, his face twisting, in anger. "Rila," he whispered. That night, when the children gathered in their circle, the walls of their chamber shifted again. The secret door opened, and Rila stepped inside. Her long form was tense, her glowing eyes sharp with urgency. "It is time," she whispered. The children gasped. Elena jumped to her feet. "You found a way?" "Yes," Rila said. "Follow me, quickly. Do not look back." The children rose as one, their fear replaced by courage. They followed Rila through the hidden passage, their small footsteps echoing softly. The ship's halls were dark and strange, filled with glowing panels and humming sounds. Every corner felt dangerous, but they kept close behind Rila. As they moved, alarms suddenly blared. Red lights flashed along the walls. Commander Thal's voice thundered through the speakers. "Attention! The humans are escaping. Stop them at once. Rila is a traitor to the Threlak." The children froze, terror in their eyes. Rila turned sharply. "Do not stop. Run!" She grabbed Elena's hand and pulled her forward. The others followed, their small legs racing. Around them, doors hissed open and alien guards appeared. Rila moved faster than the guards expected. She struck panels on the walls, releasing bursts of smoke and sparks. The corridors filled with confusion. She pushed the children through narrow paths, always one step ahead. But Commander Thal himself soon appeared, blocking their way. His tall figure filled the hall, his glowing eyes blazing with fury. "You dare betray us, Rila?" he roared. "For these weak creatures." The children huddled behind her. "They are not weak," Rila shouted back. Her voice shook the air. "They are strong in ways you cannot understand, stronger than us," Thal sneered. "They are animals, and you have become one of them." He stepped forward, his presence heavy and terrifying. The children held tightly to one another. Elena's voice trembled, but she spoke. "We are not animals. We are human, and we will go home." The words, though spoken by a child, filled the hall like a blade of light. Rila acted quickly. She slammed her hand on a nearby panel. A blast door crashed down between them and Thal, sealing the passage. "Move!" she cried. They ran again, their breaths ragged, their hearts pounding. Ahead, the shining escape pod waited like a promise. Rila ushered them inside one by one. The pod was small, but just enough for them all. The children strapped themselves in, clutching the seats. With trembling hands, Rila began to program the pod. Her long fingers moved over the controls, setting the course for Earth, but her hands slowed as she reached the final step. She could not go with them. The pod was designed for small passengers. If she entered, the systems might fail. The journey was too risky. Elena looked up at her. "Come with us," she pleaded. Rila shook her head gently. "This is your journey. My place is here." The children's eyes filled with tears. Even Daniel, who had tried to be tough, whispered, "But we need you." "You do not need me," Rila said softly. "You have each other. That is your power. Never forget it." The alarms grew louder. Heavy footsteps thundered in the hall. Thal was coming. Rila pressed the final button. The pod hummed to life. She placed her hand on the glass, looking at the children one last time. "Be brave. Be human." The pod's door sealed shut. With a roar, it launched into the darkness of space, racing toward Earth. Inside, the children held tight as the pod shook. The stars spun around them, and Earth grew larger in the window. Their hearts were filled with fear, but also hope. Elena whispered, "She saved us." "Yes," Aisha said softly. "She believed in us." Kofi pressed his small hand against the window, watching the blue planet grow closer. "We're going home." Back on the ship, Commander Thal burst into the launch bay just as the pod disappeared into space. His furious roar echoed through the halls. Rila stood tall before him. "You will pay for this," Thal growled. "Perhaps," Rila answered calmly. "But they are free, and they will show the universe what it means to be human." Her glowing eyes shone with something new, something her people had long forgotten. The escape pod entered Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. On the ground below, people looked up, pointing at the streak of light. Search teams raced to the landing site. When the pod opened, the children stumbled out, blinking in the bright sunlight. Their families ran toward them, crying and calling their names. The reunion was filled with joy and relief. Elena looked back at the sky, where the alien ship still hid beyond human sight. She whispered softly, "Thank you, Rila." In the weeks that followed, the children told their story. Many adults did not believe them at first. But the truth spread quickly. Governments, scientists, and ordinary people all began to prepare, realizing they were not alone in the universe. But the children knew something more. They knew that not all aliens were enemies. Somewhere above, a brave being had chosen to stand with them, to believe in them. And that gave them hope for the future. High above Earth on the hidden ship, Rila stood at the observation window. Thal and the council glared at her with anger, but she no longer feared them. She had seen something greater than fear. She had seen humanity, and in her heart she whispered, "Perhaps they will save us all."